This is like Cinderella finding out that her stepsisters is mean. Girl, they are mean to you too. Your sisters is racist. You didn't need black women to tell you that one. You can look around. Look around. Look around.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. Today's video is this video that was made by a Caucasian woman, and I can't even say who she's addressing in this video, but I think she's addressing her fellow palm-colored woman. Let's roll her clip.
I have a controversial rant, and please don't chase me off the platform for it, but seriously, why didn't we listen to black women? Why did we not listen to them? I'm watching all these emergent, fascist bills that are being passed that target trans kids. And I'm hearing in my comment section a lot, this is Gilead, this is like the Handmaid's Tale. But as I look through the history of the United States, genocide is nothing new in this country. It's not confined to some fictional book. It actually happened to indigenous women and to black women. And this isn't some ancient history. Before the Indian Child Welfare Act, which is going to SCOTUS to possibly be overturned soon, before that, 1/3 of all Native children were forcibly removed from their homes. So when we talk about DeSantis passing this bill that's going to forcibly remove children that are trans or have trans parents, Natives already went through this. And how many black mothers have we seen that have lost their babies and no justice comes to them? And I've marched in BLM marches. I felt like I was listening, but I wasn't. Giving some vocal support online or, buying a pen or something, or even just showing up in marches, it wasn't enough. And to tie this back into what's going on with the LGBT community, well, we wouldn't even have a pride if it wasn't for black trans women. I just feel like the black community, they have tried to warn all of us white liberals for a long time that if we don't stand and fight for them, that we would be on the chopping block next. And as I'm making all these videos exposing groups like the Council for National Policy and everything, I am feeling disgusted with myself because I'm doing it because my son is trans. My son is affected. I am a lesbian. I am affected. But the truth is, I should have been doing this kind of passionate work for a lot longer. I'm 35. This should have been happening a lot longer. And it should have been focused on black and indigenous people who have been through this type of oppression since the foundation of the country. I can't change the past, but what I can say is that we all need to really, really listen to the communities that have lived through this, that have survived this in the past. I think we need to stop using the Handmaid's Tale as an example for what's happening when there are real people who lived through it. We need to center their history, their fight, because I truly believe that one of the reasons that we're in this situation that we are now with the rise of fascism is because we did not do enough to help the BIPOC community, to listen to the BIPOC community who's been screaming about fascism for decades.
So that opening statement was so strong. The moment I saw that video and I saw why didn't we listen to black women, I'm like, okay, they are getting their moment of rude awakening, right? So from that video, you can see that she says she's a lesbian and then she has a transgender son. So the US is passing a bill that kind of affects transgender children, that could forcibly remove transgender children from the care of their parents. So this affects her directly, right? So this is what is causing her rude awakening. Definitely, you know that people responded to that video. Black women especially. Let me go right ahead and play their responses.
Why didn't we listen to black women?
Because you value your whiteness and privilege over everything. Because when you agree to become white, you forfeit your heritage, your culture, and therefore a semblance of community and sisterhood. You don't know how to listen to anybody other than white men. Because in order to listen to someone, you have to shut all the way the fuck up. And that's something that y'all don't like doing. Because ultimately, y'all don't want freedom. You want the freedom to oppress other people like white men have oppressed people. Because y'all are lazy and don't want to put in the real work it would take to actually gain liberation for all people. Because of your internalized fear and jealousy. Your dedication to mediocrity. Because of your allegiance to white supremacy, capitalism, and misogynoir. Your internalized self-hatred.
Why didn't we listen to black women?
So no hate to this creator, because she did acknowledge that she basically didn't give a f till she was affected. But I'm going to use her video to make a point. Because over the last week or two, I've been inundated with angry white people mad at me because I said that I'm not going to put my body on the front lines to fight with them. And I stand on that. I said what the f I said. But this is the reason that I said it. Because you all lack empathy by default. And not all of you know, but most of you, I would say. The fact that it takes you being affected to make you give a fuck means that human decency is not your natural state. That's crazy to me. I don't have to be a fucking Holocaust victim to know that that shit was wrong. I don't have to be a slave to know that slavery is wrong. Like, I don't have to be affected by shit happening in this country to other demographics to understand that it isn't right. But y'all do. And I don't respect that. Because how the fuck are we supposed to trust y'all, stand with y'all, work with y'all, and you don't give a fuck on a basic level? It takes you actually feeling affected to make you care about other people. Like, this speaks volumes. And then you say, well, why didn't we listen to black women? You did. You all have heard everything black women have said. We've been saying the same thing forever. And what have you done? Exactly what you were doing until you were affected. Sitting back, steeped in privilege, enjoying your life and watching everybody else suffer. And this isn't about her, you guys. This is just in general. This is the overall. The overall is that nobody gives a fuck until they're affected. But they expect us to just be on the bandwagon once they decide to care. That's not how shit works. If y'all really give a fuck, you guys hold the power. You should be out in the streets. You should be, the way you guys act like Karens towards all of us, that's how you guys should be acting towards the politicians. That's what you should be doing to change shit in this country if you really care. But you guys know you benefit from your skin color. You know that you've never had to fight the way everybody else has had to fight, and your mediocrity will fail you if you have to compete with people who've been oppressed, because it's just made everybody else stronger. But what does losing look like to y'all? Because you guys act like you're scared to lose. What exactly are you losing? What do you think what happened? There's already more black and brown type of people in the world than white folks. If we wanted to do some shit, we would have been and done it. We haven't, because we're not like y'all. We're different. We don't hate by default. We're family people. We're familial. Y'all are not. So there's nothing to fear in that aspect, but maybe there should be. I don't know. But there's nothing to fear. We've never made a threat to y'all. We've never done anything collectively to you guys. I don't know why somebody has to teach you to be empathetic. That sounds crazy to me. But you expect us to trust you enough to stand with you. It's wild.
Why did we not listen to them?
I think we can replay the game film of why white women didn't listen to black women till the end of time. But it would be much more productive if white women started to acknowledge certain truths. I am a white woman. Just by being born white, even though I am seen as a lesser sex in this country, I have enjoyed the advantages of being a white woman. I have not always worked to dismantle the system, so I am a part of the system of oppression that black women have been warning us against. And that is not easy to say, but we have to accept it as the truth. We are by nature selfish. Yes, we don't like being held back, but we also don't want to have to give up being at the top of the pile. Because white women will march and they will fight with black women until we might have to be equal with black women. And then we kind of scurry back to that, slightly behind and to the right of men. We need to acknowledge that.
Why didn't we listen to black women? Why did we not listen to them?
It was because they never came for you. And I'm not talking about this woman, just in general. And what she's talking about is when black women have been screaming for like 400 years about human rights and nobody cared until now. And I've shared this on my page before, but I'll share it again. First, they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. Conservatives and the Republican Party have to have an eternal boogeyman, and they might not come for you today or tomorrow, but they're going to be coming for you at some point. Unless you're a straight white Christian male, then you're good. You don't got to worry about anything. But everyone else. And in Texas, right now, they're bringing up no-fault divorce with Steven Crowder getting divorced. And if you're a woman in an abusive marriage, they're not going to allow you to leave anymore. The battle for human rights will never stop.
Why didn't we listen to black women?
Oh, that's simple. It's because you thought you were special. When black women and women of color, indigenous women were saying, they're taking my kids away, you guys thought, well, you're bad parents. Do better. I just wrote a paper and I titled it Child Trauma to Prison Pipeline. And Child Protective Service is the engine that runs that pipeline to prison. So when we were complaining about that pipeline and our kids being taken away unjustly, white women thought, oh, we'll just be better parents. Don't abuse your kids. They won't take your kids away from you just because you're black. And here's the thing that y'all did not get. That pipeline is drying up. They need more children for the prison system. So whose kids do you think they're coming after next? Y'all's. Low-income children are next in that pipeline. Low-income white children are next in that pipeline. So you thought you guys were special, and you thought your whiteness protected you from that pipeline, honey, and it didn't. Because what happens to us happens to low-income white people next.
But seriously, why didn't we listen to black women? Why?
She's asking why we didn't listen to black women now that we're seeing all the anti-LGBT legislation going through. And the why we didn't listen to black women's sentiment is something that's been floating around for 7 years and it hasn't changed anything. And I've seen a lot of response videos, not necessarily flaming her, but flaming the sentiment. But here's the thing. Human nature is inherently selfish. We get to a point where we are comfortable with where we are, and then we stop. And that's not me excusing it, but black women have always been the canary in the coal mine. From medicine to technology, there's been a lot that's been trampled on the blood, sweat, tears, and bones of black women. So something that benefits us tends to benefit everybody because we don't get a lot of benefits a lot of the time. And we see it in other places in society, right? We see it with celebrities. When celebrities suddenly get sick, then all of a sudden they're these major activists for their illnesses, where prior to them getting those illnesses, it was radio silent. So yes, listen to black women, but ultimately, I think it's less about listening to a specific demographic and more about stepping away from comfort as the indicator of how far your activism should go. Once you've reached your pinnacle, is not the time to stop moving the needle forward.
Why didn't we listen to black women?
Let me explain it to you. You've been brought up to be the default damsel in distress. You've been brought up to believe that you will be perpetually protected, regardless of the actions that you take. You have been brought up, and so have your sisters, to believe that protecting white men means that you will be protected. So when us black women, our brown women, our indigenous women, our women of color have been trying to sound the alarm and warn you of what's already been happening and what will happen to you again, you've been taught to ignore us. This is what Moms of Liberty and the Daughters of the Confederacy and all of the legacy organizations throughout the United States are trying to indoctrinate you into ignoring us so that you don't learn the true history, so that the true history can keep repeating itself. Because as I keep telling people, there are a multitude that are defined within the Constitution. Tell me where in the Constitution white women are considered people. This is why they treat you the way that they do. This is why we keep sounding the alarm to let you know that the more you protect them, the more you're going to denigrate and put yourself into a box. You've been raised and conditioned for us to do all of the labor for you. And when we stop and let you reap the repercussions of your actions, when the consequences start chasing you down, then you finally see it. Then you finally start to get a monochrome of it. I suggest starting with reading Medical Apartheid. But yeah, you were raised to be the default damsel in distress because white men need cheerleaders.
Everybody in that video just said it. Like, black women have been speaking up and saying things and complaining and trying to fight some unfair things in the system of the country, and you all never really cared. So now this situation that she made this video about the trans children and all of that is something that her whiteness cannot protect her from. Even if their gender or their woman who doesn't give them as much power as the men, their whiteness gives them a power. But now this is the one thing that her whiteness cannot protect her from. So it is now that she's beginning to read up and do her research and realize that genocides have been happening. Indigenous women have experienced this whole thing. Black women have experienced this whole thing that she's beginning to fear that might happen to she and her child. So, like, I don't know if I'm going to call it karma, but I think like this should be a lesson. And I don't know, I think it's sort of human behavior. Somehow we're not as bothered about things that don't directly affect us. We might say we empathize, but we're not really going to do much about it until it affects us or someone directly related to us. But I'm not going to excuse it as just human behavior, because we know that white people have been desensitized to a lot of injustice that have happened to other people, indigenous people, black people, generally. So they kind of did not have a lot of empathy when it was happening to those people. But now laws are about to be passed, a bill is about to be passed that affects you, that your whiteness cannot protect you from. And I don't know, I hope you guys are not going to be expecting black women to march in solidarity with you guys. But then I'm still sure that some members of the black community are probably going to be affected by this bill. But if her video tells us anything, it just makes us understand the fact that they don't really care until it affects them. That's all I'm going to say. And personally, I feel like this is why the whole women, supporting women, allyship, feminism movement in America, black women don't like to kind of be put in the same boat with white women, because at the end of the day, these palm-colored women still have their whiteness to save them, and they will not match when it's a cause that affects solely black people. So it's almost like we're partners when it favors us, but when we don't have anything to gain from it, you're on your own. And left for me, I don't know, that's not a relationship if you ask me. You guys just let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.